Natalie Ferry,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey
and the ordinances of the Borough of Highbridge,
and the ordinances of the Borough of Highbridge,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and the government established
and the government established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in the state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of council member
of the office of council member
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my abilities.
So help me God.
So help me God.
I state your name.
I, Kelly Matos,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey
and the ordinances of the Borough of Highbridge,
and the ordinances of the Borough of Highbridge,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same
and the government established
and the government established
in the United States
in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of the office of council member
of the office of council member
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Oh, that's not my job. Sorry.
Barry?
Sylvester.
Graham?
No.
Matos?
Sylvester.
No.
No.
Sylvester?
Sylvester.
We have a tie, it appears to me. My count is right.
Yep.
May you break the tie.
Councilman Knoll.
Vote on it.
Regarding the Solitude House discussion, it mentions lease agreement, and it should be agreement, because it was an agreement about the reporting of the finances and whatnot, so it's not a lease.
It's not a lease.
And
I
it's,
agree with
and it's
that.
mentioned
Okay.
twice in their lease, I just want the word lease removed.
I think we've had
Okay.
many
Yeah, so
discussions
that's-
about
yeah.
that word, yes.
Yeah, so
Well,
that would
for
be
the
the
record,
motion to.
Highbridge Fire Department, on the occasion of their 125th anniversary, whereas the Highbridge Fire Department was, this is a lot. And I can read. Whereas the Highbridge Fire Department was formed and established July 9th, 1898 on account of a major fire which destroyed part of Main Street and is now celebrating their 125th anniversary of dedicated service. The department formally incorporated the succeeding year on August 25th, 1899. And whereas the Highbridge Fire Department originally consisted of two companies, being Liberty House Company, formed in 1899 and known as Company Number 2, and L.H. Taylor House Hose Company, formed in 1901 and known as Company Number 1 until they merged to form one unit in 1991. And whereas in 1938, recognizing the need for expanded emergency services, the Highbridge Fire Department formed the first emergency squad in Hunterdon County, which service was later reorganized in 1953 as the Highbridge Emergency Squad. And whereas the long, faithful history of past and present members of the Highbridge Fire Department included not only active firefighting and other emergency-related services, but other less visible means of community support through activities such as hosting carnivals and circuses, toy drives at Christmas for needy children, and many fundraisers from which money was generated to help cover the cost of constructing and maintaining their facilities, purchasing equipment, and providing training for their members in order to lessen the burden that would otherwise have been borne to taxpayers. And whereas the Mayor and Council wish to commemorate the Highbridge Fire Department's 125th anniversary by creating a record for future generations regarding this intricate and invaluable part of our community, by publicly acclaiming that many years of service and unselfish commitment to the citizens of the Borough of Highbridge. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Mayor and Council of the Borough of Highbridge in the County of Hunterdon and State of New Jersey as follows. Attest. 1. The members of the Highbridge Fire Department are hereby congratulated and commended for 125 years of service to the Borough of Highbridge. Sorry, my reading is way off. The Mayor and Council, together with the citizens of Highbridge, sincerely look forward to a future made brighter by such dynamic and devoted volunteers as those who have served in the Highbridge Fire Department during the last 125 years, making our community a safe and desirable environment in which to live. 3, The mayor and council are hereby directed to deliver an executive copy of this resolution to the Highbridge Fire Department to commemorate the 125th anniversary as a vital part of the Borough of Highbridge. Congratulations.
Minutes in a second. We did that for years, and then all of a sudden we changed, and I think at times, we usually don't have a packed house like this, and when we do have residents come, they usually have heavy topic, and the 3 minutes doesn't seem to be enough time for them.
That would, the mayor controls the agenda, you know, pursuant to the ordinance. And probably the thing to do, it would be to talk to the mayor offline about that, you know, at this point, because even a resolution, you would have to do a resolution to expand it, and that would have to amend the agenda.
Sure.
And the history of this council is that the only time that you amend the agenda is where there's an emergency type situation, that it couldn't have been anticipated, because you want to make sure the public knows what's on the agenda, as well as the council knows what's on the agenda, so that they can anticipate it. So I'd suggest talk to the mayor, you know, offline, and see if you can work out something.
I'm here because my name has been removed from the events committee. I've been volunteering in this town for, I don't know, 9 years, 10 years. We had COVID where we didn't get to have any events. We finally got to start to have events again. I reached out to my liaison, wanting to have meetings. I got no response. The mayor finally responded to a different member, not to me, saying that technically there is no committee. So I guess we had no committee. Somebody on Facebook asked why we weren't having movies and concerts, and I said the committee was disbanded because I was told there is no committee. But my name was still on there. I've had a lot of uncomfortable email conversations with the mayor about this. Personally, I think that the mayor has better things to worry about than whether or not I'm on the committee. I did reach out to my liaison again in August, saying that I would chair the committee, which is what the mayor challenged me to do, so I offered to. Crickets. So now I'm not on it. But apparently, I need to be voted off by council. So if you want me off it, vote me off. If not, there's money in the events committee budget, and I would like to have concerts and movies again, not the one that we had last year.
Resolution 5, 62, and 63. We used to have this red line, so when these were updated, we would look at it right away and we'd know without having to cross-reference everything to who came off. So of course, Ellie, who just came up, she had sent in a letter, and that had been clarified prior to the meeting from the mayor that she's waiting to redo some ordinances before new members come on board. But also we had another member, Chip Carvanic, who didn't expire yet, who was removed. So I guess I'd like to question, why was he removed? But also, moving on, there was also into the Economic Development Committee, I noticed someone came off of that as well. And to what Karen Gove had just mentioned, special events, 2 people were taken off that weren't expired yet. And also, lastly, for the Board of Ethics, there should be 7 members, but I know that needs a ordinance revision, so maybe that can't be.
The Board of Ethics is only 3 people.
Yeah, currently that's 3 people.
But it should be 7 per statute, right?
No.
So, I don't know, that's just a question, so I'm just bringing to your attention in case that needs to be revised. But anyway, so I guess basically my.
Looked at that,
Now, I don't remember the number that are needed, but there was an issue about the composition of the ethics committee when it met, and it decided it was not properly constituted. And so that may be what you're addressing, and I do believe that that has to be addressed. And I don't remember how many people the ordinance requires or statute requires, but I do remember that there was an issue with the number of people on the ethics committee, which is why the matter that was filed had to be referred up to the DCA and could not be handled by the borough.
Thank you, council members. You know, we really should have put their thoughts on putting something in place that when someone is removed, the chair and the liaison, someone's notified, so that way we can avoid, you know, an awkward situation with a member who they come to volunteer and then suddenly they're not on the list. So I know some members, I don't believe in an ordinance to say you have to write a resignation letter, but in the past, that's what the protocol has been, to write a resignation letter, and have them removed. So I just wanted to bring this to everyone's attention, just so that, you know, we could put something in place perhaps for the future that, you know, we'll know if someone's being removed, maybe go back to the red line. But again, I do want a clarification on Chip Carvanic for the historical committee, and also the 2 members on the events committee.
Said he doesn't go to meetings anymore and wants not to be on part of, but we should talk about this afterwards, because I don't think we should be talking about residents at the public meeting. Regarding the events committee, there was no meetings the entire year. No one stepped up. There were no, you know, other groups, as you were a part of other meetings, wanted to take over a lot of the events, including the Business Association, the Women for Highbridge. They had a lot of great events this past year. So, and the events committee technically doesn't exist because there's not a quorum and there's been no meetings, no meeting minutes. I do want to address that we started talking about last year, redoing and bringing consistency to the committee ordinances, because they're all over the place. Even preparing for this meeting, we realized that there were things that we didn't realize were missing in some of these things. So there's going to be a lot more discussion starting at the next meeting.
Appointments and updates. And on this, I noticed there were different social media and websites missing. For instance, the Hybrid Concert Series, again, that will be a discussion with, I guess, what happens with Events Committee, because it's an inactive page, but it is a Facebook page. And then going down to the Borough of Highbridge Facebook page and the volunteer group, that's essentially one. The group kind of branches off of, so whoever, not that it's an issue on this resolution, but just for awareness, that's really one kind of package. Number 5, for the Grounds for Art, it needs to be clarified that, is it a Facebook page? Because they do have a Facebook page, they do have a website, and they do have a fundraising page. So they have three things that should be listed here. And then going down to HB Paintout, they also have a Facebook page. So it just needs some updates to this resolution, so it's
Are you
clear.
sure
I would
those
like a
things?
motion to amend, and that way we can just take care of it.
Well, why don't we
and add
table it so we make sure we get it right?
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
certainly.
Third assigned council member, whereas mayor and council president will serve as liaisons to the below committee. So this is, so everybody out there knows what I'm talking about. This is the 2024 council committee assignments. And, you know, historically what we did in the past, we had one primary liaison, then we had another liaison that was a backup, and some had a third, and over the years we dwindled down to 2. And now this is being proposed. I would suggest that this be revised, because it's a bit confusing when you go into the 5th whereas, and looking at the assignments down below to each group, like website, Department of Public Works, it just says their name. So I think this needs a motion to do some type of an amendment to this, to make it really clear as to, you know, it says here, mayor and council president serve as liaisons to the below committee. So is it the first, the second, third? It doesn't, it's not clear when you first read this. So it needs to be, I think, a little bit more specific.
I think it's pretty specific, but I think that, as we were just saying, we do need to talk about the ordinances, and we'll get to the expansion of that, but I think we're gonna have other conversations that are gonna spark some debate. And so a liaison, in this case, I think is warranted. If someone really needs to, you know, and I don't think we're gonna make amendments to each committee to appoint a second at this meeting, but we can certainly talk about it, you know, going forward over the next couple meetings with the ordinances.
Historical committee events for the year. It seems, and this is all, first of all, it seems awful open, the last item. Cisco General and Theme Market, January through December, Saturday and Sunday, Solitude House Complex, Cisco. It's like, it just seems very vague. I went back and looked at last year, and there was specific, I believe it was the second Saturday of each month in there. It just seems to me this needs some clarification here.
On specifically that last one, Kelly?
Yes.
I'm sorry,
The last 3.
I didn't hear that.
Okay.
I didn't hear what you said in the beginning, I'm sorry.
If you pull it up here, the last item, Tisco General Themed Markets,
I'm sorry, which resolution number is it?
it is 70.
Okay, Cisco General and Theme Market, yeah.
Right. it just seems very vague. It seems like you could have an event any single Saturday or Sunday at one of three places. And last year it was not nearly as vague, it was very specific. It was,
Right, so when we initially started these markets, they were I believe it was the fourth Sunday of every month
Right.
from May through November, and then there were some rain out dates and we wound up having to move them.
Mhm.
So to hopefully alleviate some need for changes in resolutions or rewrites of resolutions, we thought that this would be,
okay, I just would like to see. And then the other thing is with all of this, and this goes back to what we discussed at the last meeting, I really feel that we need to get this, and it's an agreement between the nonprofit and the borough in place before we move forward with all this again. I mean, we just keep kicking this one down the road too. And Barry, you know that this is, as you said last time, this is almost done, right? I mean, we're pretty
I
much.
don't wanna say it's almost done,
No.
because
Okay.
we prepared an agreement and there were questions about it, and then it just died on the vine.
Right, yeah.
And I'll leave it at that, because
Okay.
I never heard exactly what the issues were after
Yeah.
we prepared it. So I don't know whether it's done or close to being done, because I never heard the issues that were
Alright.
being raised.
I'd like to add to this, as this, we have put together this list as the historical committee, me as the liaison, Kelly as the chair, for the last few years, at the very beginning of the year, because as you know, we're a passionate town of events, everybody's planning something. So on this list, there are core things that over the couple of years have become an annual thing.
Mhm.
Father's Day barbecue, jazz brunch, gala, and if we get those dates, at least the specific dates,
Right.
that way we can start advertising, everybody kind of knows, so we kind of respect everybody's events and no one's overlapping.
No
And then the other
problem.
ones that were a bit more open were more for the other, and Kelly, you could get more detail if you want to on this, but the more specific public events that might be a fundraising type of thing, to leave it a little bit more open so we could determine at a later time, and then of course not create extra work for the
Yeah, and
borough.
I kind of get that, I would like to see that more, but more importantly, it's that agreement, which we've decided to call it.
These events that have been scheduled in the past and been very successful. My concern is these three at the bottom that kind of cover the whole year without a lot of specifics. There have been a lot of events, but we've also realized, as we discussed at the last council meeting, that the expenses are through the roof. And we don't have a handle on this year's budget yet. So if, for me, and I wanted to make sure we had this open discussion, if we could amend this to take those bottom ones that are just kind of open for the whole year until we have more discussions, talk about this agreement, make sure we're all clear what's the difference between the committee itself and the fundraising arm of the committee, because again, maybe some of the fundraising could be covering some of the expenses, and that's my thought.
I'm happy to
So-
sit down next week and just hash this out.
that's fine.
And get this going.
I understand what you're saying, as far as like the solitude, the mystery, the themed ones,
I'm fine with
and
all.
even the general,
Yeah.
the market ones, I understand, those being so general. As far as the open house, those are so broad like that, because especially depending on the month, like if we were to put first Sunday of every month, then we wouldn't necessarily be open to maybe doing it on a Saturday versus a Sunday, or maybe the first Sunday the weather is poor. That was
Let's
the
hash
main-
it out a little bit more, because I also think that part of that created a bit of conflict last year. We don't have to get into that right now, but if we can leave that portion off on the bottom and have a heart-to-heart.
Sure.
March 17th, which is the Robert Taylor open house, that we know it's going to be on March 17th. That specific first one where we always kick off the season in March.
Well, that's not on here.
It's not on there because it falls under the Solitude
Oh,
Open
no,
House.
here it is.
Oh, we do have, no, we don't
Well,
have
you
it
have a
there.
walking tour.
No,
Yeah.
it's the Solitude Open House and it falls under under that.
Well, that's not on here.
No, I know it's not on there because it falls under that.
It falls
group.
under the open house. Typically, we would open for the first open house of the season on Robert Taylor's birthday, which is March 17th. Last year, we did it in February just because the 125th, so we started a month early, but.
Okay, I mean, I just looking for a little more clarification and that agreement. I mean,
11, it mentions signatures of checks, and it says that 3 the mayor, the clerk, and the certified financial officer sign the checks. Is there anybody that signs those if, let's say somebody's, like, there has to be 3 signatures
No.
on the checks?
So typically are three.
Oh, there are?
So like,
I don't remember ever signing a check, but I think
No,
there's
no,
stamps.
so we're authorized to do, 2 stamps and 1 line.
okay, so if somebody happens to be away, then
Yep,
it's
yeah,
not.
so we
Okay,
shuffle.
I
them
didn't know
through,
if there needed to be like an alternate listed on here, or,
I think
or like
we're good
council
with-
president or something like that?
Yeah, yes, we very rarely ever run into that.
Okay. It mentions adopting a policy, a green purchasing policy that was put together by the green team.
I believe some time ago, I think it's had some recent review, and I think it's actually still under review
It is,
in some parts of that.
yeah, there's a few minor changes that were, that,
Yeah.
So I just thought before we agree to adopt that, that we should see the policy finished. I mean,
it's fine,
if anybody disagrees,
and I can send you a copy of it. It's available on the website.
okay, is it, but it's, there's.
I believe that the,
You
I
have
believe-
one
Changes?
already, we're basically just.
I
renewing
believe that the one on the website is up to date.
Yeah, I think we had made some changes very early last year.
Yes.
To that one, so tonight you would be basically adopting that and looking, at any point to amend it and add or change.
So, I mean,
as
this
you will.
is basically
This
been
would
on
be
the
a
website for
continuation.
a year.
Okay,
So, I mean, if it needs to be updated, then we would have to update the resolution, I guess, at some
Yep,
point.
you would do another resolution. to
Right,
amend
but
it.
at this point, it's public knowledge, it's available on the website, so.
Okay.
It's a resolution, so it runs for the year. So
Okay.
just a suggestion, if you adopt what we have here now, it will be continuing what we already have rather than letting it sort of go, as it were, until you come up with those amendments.
okay. Okay, and then, 29 was referencing the Nassau Road 2024 wildlife protection. It mentions in here signs and things that were posted. And just having done volunteer work previously, since this is Green Acres property, has Green Acres approved all the signage that's been put up there?
Yeah, that one, I haven't had much review over that. I don't know if
I believe we've had those folks up,
Yeah.
DPW has been up, or, I'm sorry, not DPW,
DEP.
DEP has been up there and has seen that
Many
area, Brad,
times.
and we've been,
Many times.
I just didn't want us to run into any issues.
Yeah,
This
no,
was
because-
an older project, another grant project that was going on.
Okay.
We actually have another management agreement that's portion to that up there as well, so DEP is involved.
Okay.
If you have any specific concerns, we could always,
That's great, I know there's been, you know, they're particular, so I just wanted to make sure we were okay. That's all, and then, 54. The creative team. I just have noticed that they've been a resolution every year as opposed to having an actual ordinance. I didn't know if there was a reason they don't have an ordinance, and maybe that'll just be included with the ordinance revisions.
They're a subgroup of the Sustainable Jersey Green Team,
Okay.
subcommittee.
So they
Green
fall
Team is
under-
also,
Same with Green Team.
Green Team is the same thing, it does not, it's not by ordinance, it's by resolution, and that's why it's updated, it's
Okay.
on every year, we have to, renew that.
So do they follow then the ordinance from
Environmental.
Environmental Commission? Okay.
Yes, because it's a subgroup of that.
Okay, so then so with the commission, and I don't know that if I understand this correctly, are commissions allowed to fundraise?
No.
So does that then apply to the green team and to the creative team?
Good question, but I don't know.
Just
And
because they
They
fall
would
under?
not be allowed to fundraise without the authority of the, council,
Okay,
okay? Because they don't have any decision-making power,
Okay.
and so the council would have to empower them,
Okay.
to do fundraising.
okay. And then, my apologies, I just had one other one, is it okay to? Pull 67 as well? Borough personnel.
What's the numbers?
D. It's just a general rule of communication on social media for officials and volunteers. I didn't know if this was ever discussed among council before, all of the verbiage is written in here, or if this is new.
I believe this is new this year. This is pretty standard verbiage.
Brett, do you want to speak to that?
Well, this was added into there as far as, Barry also has some review of it, to
Yeah.
bring an update into our personnel policy, which further on in there also, it includes volunteers as well, outside of this section, there's additional language further on in the policy.
Okay.
So we are looking, this year to do a total overhaul, bring some more updates to that policy.
And quite frankly, this is a prudent thing. One of my employment attorneys partners reviewed this and worked with them. It's a prudent thing to include in the policy. It protects the borough, and on the one hand, and it lets employees know what they can and can't do as an employee.
Understood. But then it mentions volunteers as well, so
Mhm.
I just wanna understand, like, especially if we have new people that wanna join a committee and they're volunteering,
And
you know?
they should know that there are issues because they are volunteers representing the borough.
Correct.
And so if they post things as representatives of the borough, that could create a problem for the borough.
Right.
So, yeah, so that's why volunteers were also included in this.
Are we ready?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to recommend the removal of Alan Brower as our water operator. I'm gonna give you a quick story of what's going on, and then, we can discuss it and see where we all stand on
I
this.
think we should talk about this offline, to be honest, because I think there's some other issues. And we can't just remove a water operator and not have a water operator.
So, can we discuss personnel issues?
No, we cannot, so I think we should,
not to, but-
have a separate discussion.
You actually can discuss
Okay,
it in
I
open
wasn't-
session, you can't do it in executive session unless the person's been rights noticed. But historically, the council has, spoken to the person, let the person know that there would be a discussion about it, just as a matter of fairness and courtesy.
Which I have not, so I
Well,
would suggest we hold off on this discussion.
Sure, but in all fairness, Barry, and everyone else, some questions have arisen about this role in our borough. When I tried to have that conversation, Mr. Schwartz and I were removed from a DPW engineering meeting under the guise of executive service that the mayor used, and removed us from the meeting to have a discussion with this employee.
It was a personnel matter.
Right. So, since that meeting, this water operator has not shown up to any engineering meetings to fill us in on his role as a water engineer when we are spending millions of dollars. He needs to be there guiding the borough. We have water main breaks. Well, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, let's talk about it later.
That's fine.
Good point.
That's
Yeah.
fine. So I'm not really sure what the protocol is to have this meeting, so you'll have really no choice but to come here for this. All right, and the next one is just a
Larry.
question,
I
Barry.
mean, we're just
Fingers get tired.
Just a question, Barry. Is the mayor allowed to appoint her spouse to a job year after year without council consent?
Actually, my advice is that the mayor is allowed to appoint somebody, but it's with the advice and consent of the council, so the council would have to vote to approve it.
Fair. So then I make a motion to approve this appointment.
which one is that?
Go.
Frederick Roll, fire official and CCO officer.
It's in the resolution
Okay.
12,
Thank you
That's
very much.
precisely what we are pulling or approving, just for recording
Yeah,
purposes.
sure. So my question was, can the mayor appoint her spouse for a job year after year without council approval? Barry said that the council should approve that.
And the council every year has
On the
approved it at the
resolution,
reorganization
it's on the
meeting. This is, as the mayor says, it's an ongoing appointment. It's the first time it's been raised as to whether or not the mayor can do it, and in my opinion, she can appoint, but the council, has to approve it.
I don't vote.
So, and just by approving this resolution, we are already essentially voting.
That's what I wanted to be clear about. We're not altering a resolution here. You are taking a vote on a particular set of resolutions, correct?
Yeah, let's be clear, which numbers again?
27 and 28.
27, join Morris County Co-op.
No.
No, you're talking about.
I'm sorry,
12.
resolution number
Resolution
12.
12.
Line 27 and line 29.
Can we pull individual lines out of this resolution?
The answer is it can be amended.
Okay, we have to
Yes,
amend the
absolutely.
resolution.
The council has the right to amend it, before it votes on it, yes.
What statute we have to have. But if we have issues or concerns or things that we need to address downstream, we can do that. right?
Well, I'd have to look at the statute, because a lot of people who are appointed, are appointed for a year.
Right.
And absent some malfeasance or really good cause, you
Right.
can't just remove them during the course of the year.
Okay.
And many of these appointments fall into that category. I suspect this one does, but I haven't looked at the statute, because I wasn't aware this was going to, come up in this way. So if you appoint him tonight, it may be that you're appointing him for the year, absent some, some issue. And I will check the statute, certainly, going forward. And so if that's the case, and, assuming he performs the job properly.
Right.
And you know what? The recourse is, he's there for a year, next year, you make a decision whether or not he gets reappointed. But have a plan in place to replace him,
Right.
if you're going to replace him.
Right.
Resolution 005 still has a special events committee listed on it with 0 members, so thank you very much for just voting me off the events committee. Because of an Easter bunny.
Discuss possibly bringing back an events committee and doing something with that.
And I agree.
We need a
We've had-
discussion.
It's just funny coming from you, since you were the one that pushed to take it away, but that's all right, let's move on to the
Well,
public
that's
comment.
I did not push it away, but we'll have a conversation about it later.
Public?
I just wanted to say, so sitting here tonight as a reorganization meeting and new members, congratulations. Most of what I heard was arguing about volunteering and volunteers, events. And there's lots of questions about that. This town is a small town. It has some big problems, as we all know. Our infrastructure needs some help. Our taxes are high. It's a beautiful community that has lovely people in it that volunteer and give up their time. Again, looking at those lists of all of the empty and vacant spots on the committees is kind of sad to me. And I think we should be doing everything in our power to encourage, and I think committees working together to make this the best possible community that we can. It's unfortunate to sit here and hear all this. I really think tonight was an opportunity to kind of take on those bigger problems, and start out the year in the right way, so.